Hey man, there's a moment every guy experiences at least once. The confusion of dealing with a woman who flat out rejects you but won't stop orbiting your life. She says she's not ready. She says you're just a friend. She might even say she doesn't feel the same way. But then, she lingers. She replies to your stories. She double taps your photos. She sends late night texts. She throws in those flirty comments just to stir the pot. And you start wondering, is she confused or am I? This is emotional warfare, brother. And if you don't understand what's really happening, you'll become the perfect puppet in her game. Because here's the brutal truth. When a woman rejects you and still acts interested, it's rarely about love. It's about control. It's about feeding off your attention without having to commit anything real in return. And the longer you stay in that limbo, the more you drain your masculine energy trying to solve a puzzle that was designed to have no answer. You see, most men are conditioned to interpret female attention as interest, and that's your first mistake. Women are emotional alchemists. They don't need consistency to stay attached. They need energy. They don't need to want you. They just need to feel wanted. And if you're the guy who keeps showing up after she's rejected you, she knows she can tap into that attention bank. Anytime she feels bored, insecure, or lonely, you become her emotional snack. Not a meal, not a priority, just a convenience. She'll breadcrumb you, just enough to keep your hopes alive, but never enough to build anything real. She might reject you romantically, but still act warm, seductive, or even jealous if she sees you move on. That's not love. That's possession. That's a woman trying to enjoy the benefits of your interest while avoiding the responsibilities of your affection. And here's the worst part, it works. Because you're a man, you want clarity, you want logic. You want to believe that if she's still texting you, still watching your stories, still initiating contact, there must be a part of her that cares. But women don't operate like that. Not in today's culture. Not in a world where attention is currency and validation is power. She might have no intention of being with you, but she'll still keep you close enough to inflate her ego. You'll become the guy she runs to when Chad doesn't text back. The emotional support line when her situationship falls apart. And every time you respond, every time you engage, you reinforce her belief that she can reject you and still have you. That's not attraction, that's addiction. And you're the drug she uses to feel powerful. The moment you feel that confusion, the moment she says, I don't feel that way, but her actions say something else, you need to step back, immediately. Not with anger, not with some petty silent treatment, but with unshakable clarity. Because when a woman sees you willing to walk away from mixed signals, something primal in her activates. She realizes she can't toy with you. She sees you as a man of standards, and that's rare. Most men stick around hoping the situation will evolve, but it won't. Because she's already placed you in a category, she's already decided what role you serve in her emotional life, and unless you disrupt that pattern, you will stay in that box forever chasing the possibility of a love she has no intention of giving. So what do you do when she rejects you, but still acts interested? You mirror her words, not her actions. If she says she doesn't want anything romantic, you believe her, not because you're weak, but because you refuse to entertain delusion. You don't chase after contradictions, you let her go. And here's the magic. When you do that, you reverse the power dynamic. You stop playing her game. You make her question why you disappeared so effortlessly. And that mystery, that sudden lack of access, it'll haunt her. Because she expected you to stick around like most men do. She expected you to keep giving even after she closed the door. But when you disappear on a woman who was using you for emotional leverage, you force her to confront the emptiness that your attention was hiding. And sometimes, that's the only way she realizes what she lost. You need to understand something that will change how you see all of this. Women don't reject you because they don't want you. They reject you when they believe they already have you. The moment you become predictable, available, and emotionally invested without any resistance, you lose your edge. Your value drops in her eyes. She feels like she's figured you out, and that's when she starts pulling away. Not because you weren't enough, but because you made yourself too accessible. But here's the irony, even after she pulls away, she still wants the reassurance of knowing you'd come back if she ever felt like it. So she rejects your relationship, but keeps your energy. She closes the romantic door but leaves the window cracked open, just wide enough for her validation to sneak in whenever she wants it. And unless you slam that window shut, she'll keep slipping in and out of your mind, reminding you of what almost was but never will be. The power shift begins the moment you stop waiting, the moment you stop sitting by your phone hoping she'll change her mind. Because women have radar for this. They can feel when a man is still emotionally invested in a situation that's already dead. They know when you're posting just to get their attention. They know when your silence is fake, when it's just a strategy to manipulate her into reaching out. And if she can sense that, she still has control. But when your silence is real, when you actually let go, walk away, and redirect your energy inward, that's when you become dangerous. Not because you're cold, but because you're free. Free from needing her validation. Free from chasing emotional breadcrumbs. Free from the delusion that her inconsistency is something you need to decode. That freedom, it's magnetic. It's the kind of masculine detachment that makes women question everything. Not because you're trying to make her miss you, but because you're not even thinking about her anymore. Let's break this down into what it really is. She rejected you, but she still wants the benefits of your emotional presence. That is not love. That is exploitation. That is the covert form of narcissism no one talks about. It's the game of let me keep you on the hook in case I need you later. It's the emotional insurance policy women keep in the background while they chase after the guys who won't give them the time of day. You become the safe fallback, the guy she comes to when she needs to be reminded she's still wanted. And the longer you accept that role, the deeper the wound gets for you. Because while she flirts with new guys, dates other men, and lives her life with no real concern for your feelings, you're left in limbo, trying to interpret crumbs as affection, trying to turn mixed signals into hope. That's how men go crazy. Not because of heartbreak, but because of the mental chaos of being half chosen, half dismissed, but fully available. So let's get tactical. The second you feel that sting, that she's rejecting your love, but still soaking up your energy, you need to implement total detachment. That means silence. That means no more explanations. That means you don't give her the courtesy of updates, check-ins, or polite conversations. You vanish from her emotional ecosystem completely. Because here's the deal. The only language that stops emotional manipulation is action. Words mean nothing when you're dealing with someone who feeds off emotional attention. You don't argue. You don't plead. You don't ask for clarity. You make a decision and you disappear. And when she comes looking, and she will, don't take the bait. She might come with flirty energy. She might come with confusion. She might come with passive-aggressive guilt trips. But if she's not showing up with clarity and commitment, you don't engage. Because anything less than full intention is another trap. Another attempt to see if she still has power over you. You need to start seeing your energy as sacred. Every message you send, every reply, every moment you think about her, it's all currency. And when you give that energy to someone who rejected you, you're investing in a fantasy, hoping your attention will somehow change her heart. But that's not how it works. Women don't fall for the men who prove their worth with sacrifice. They fall for the men who protect their worth with boundaries. If she didn't see your value when you offered her your heart, she won't suddenly see it after you degrade yourself to maintain her interest. The only way she will ever respect you again is if you become the man she can't access. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you finally realize you deserve a woman who doesn't treat love like a game of power and convenience. This is the part where most men fail, because they confuse detachment with resentment. They try to walk away, but in their hearts they're still hoping she comes back. They're still angry, still waiting, still hurting. And that emotional tension leaks out in subtle ways, through social media posts aimed at her, indirect messages, or stories shared with mutual friends. But if you're still trying to get a reaction, you're still trapped. Real detachment isn't about punishing her, it's about releasing yourself. Releasing the illusion that she owes you closure. Releasing the fantasy that your love could have saved her. Releasing the self-sabotage that tells you rejection is something you need to fix instead of something you need to walk away from. Detachment means you no longer need her to understand you. It means you finally understand yourself. And from that place, no amount of her hot and cold behavior can shake you. You have to start observing patterns, not words. Because when a woman rejects you and still lingers, it's not about mixed emotions, it's about control. It's about wanting to feel desired without reciprocating. And when you confront her, she'll say things like, "I never promised anything," or "You're reading too much into it." That's gaslighting. That's how she maintains plausible deniability while enjoying all the benefits of your emotional investment. Don't fall for it. When someone cares, they don't confuse you. They don't push you away with one hand and pull you in with the other. So stop trying to decode what she says. Start analyzing how she makes you feel. If you feel anxious, uncertain, and undervalued around her, it's not love, it's your body telling you the connection is not aligned. Trust that. Your nervous system doesn't lie. Her words might sound sweet, but if her presence creates inner chaos, she's not meant for you. Now let's get into the psychology behind why she acts this way. It's not always malicious. Sometimes it's deeply unconscious. Some women are so addicted to being desired that they collect male attention the way others collect jewelry. It's their emotional safety net. The more men they know are orbiting around them, the more valuable they feel. So when she rejects you but still stays in touch, still watches your stories, still sends the occasional "hey stranger" text, it's not because she's confused. It's because she wants to keep you on the shelf in case she ever feels lonely or insecure. You become a backup plan, and the more available you are, the less she respects you. Because in her mind, if a man is still chasing her after being rejected, he must not have options. He must not have value. That's the sick irony. She created the rejection, but your response to it determines how she sees you forever. So what do you do when she acts interested after rejecting you? Simple. You enforce your worth through silence. You don't respond to just checking in messages. You don't entertain small talk. You don't fall for late night nostalgia text. You only respond to direct, vulnerable, intentional communication. And even then, you do it with caution. You lead the conversation with clarity. If she's playing games, you cut it off. If she's vague, you let it go. You're no longer in the business of proving you're good enough. You already are. And if she can't see that, she's not meant to. Every time you respond to a woman who rejected you but still acts interested, you reinforce the belief that she can discard you and still keep your energy. But when you go silent, not to manipulate, but to preserve your peace, you become unforgettable. Not because you begged for her love, but because you withdrew it the moment it wasn't respected. You need to remember that rejection is information, not a life sentence. It's data. It tells you where someone stands, what they value, and how they handle your vulnerability. And if she rejected you once, and is still trying to keep you emotionally tethered, she's not confused, she's selfish. She wants your presence without the responsibility of commitment. And the longer you allow that dynamic, the more damage you do to yourself. You begin to question your worth. You start to wonder what you did wrong. You compare yourself to the men she chose instead. And all of that inner noise, it keeps you from hearing the truth. You weren't rejected because you lacked value. You were rejected because she lacked depth, because she wasn't ready for real connection, because her version of love is rooted in attention, not accountability. And once you accept that, her mixed signals lose all their power. You have to detach emotionally before you detach physically. Most men leave physically, but their mind is still stuck in the loop, overthinking, replaying conversations, analyzing tone, wondering what she meant by that emoji. But when you truly detach, her mixed signals become background noise. You don't block her to get her attention. You do it because your peace matters more than the possibility of reconnecting. You don't avoid places she might be. You show up as the most grounded, self-assured version of yourself because you're no longer haunted by the question, what if? You already answered it. You asked, what if she comes back? And realized you don't need her to. That's power. That's when the dynamic shifts. Because the woman who once toyed with your emotions now sees a man who isn't available for games. And in that moment, she feels the loss. Not because you punished her, but because you finally stopped needing her validation to feel whole. When a woman senses that you're still emotionally available, even after she's rejected you, she'll keep testing the line. She'll breadcrumb you. Not because she's evil, but because she's curious. Is he still there? Becomes the question. She tries to answer with every subtle message, every like, every accidental run-in. And if you respond, she breathes a sigh of relief, not because she wants to be with you, but because she wants to know you still want her. That's the game. She wants to win your attention without having to give you commitment. And if you don't see it for what it is, you'll end up chasing a woman who has no intention of catching you. But when you stop playing, when you don't react, don't chase, don't ask for explanations, that's when the power returns to you. That's when she realizes she doesn't get to reject you and keep you. She has to choose. And if she doesn't, you walk, and you don't look back. Here's a brutal truth. A woman who respects you will never confuse you. If she's unsure, she'll tell you. If she's scared, she'll admit it. But if she's inconsistent, if she disappears and reappears without clarity, she doesn't value the connection, she values the attention, and attention without intention is manipulation. You don't need to hate her, you don't need to expose her, you just need to stop giving her access, because every time you engage, you teach her that she can disrespect you without consequences. And over time, that erodes your self-respect. You start accepting breadcrumbs as meals, you start calling mixed signals mystery, and you confuse emotional abuse with passion. Don't do that to yourself. You deserve peace. You deserve reciprocity. You deserve someone who shows up fully, not someone who disappears until her ego needs feeding. The woman who leaves you confused is the woman who will eventually leave you broken, unless you walk away first. Every time she rejects you and still lingers, what she's really saying is, I want the perks without the price. She wants your attention without your expectations. She wants your compliments without your commitment. She wants your presence without being present for you. And if you tolerate it, she'll keep you in that role forever. The emotional backup plan, the man she turns to when her real options fail, the emotional punching bag, the placeholder. But you were not born to be background noise in someone else's life. You are the main character of your story. And any woman who tries to reduce you to a supporting role in her drama does not deserve your presence. So let her go, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Because the moment you realize that her rejection was actually protection from a lifetime of confusion, you'll stop seeing it as loss, and you'll start seeing it as the gift that gave you your power back. And finally, understand this, when she rejects you, but still acts interested, that is not a compliment. It's not proof that she secretly loves you. It's not hope, it's a test, a trap, a power move. She's watching to see if you'll still orbit her even after she pushed you away. And if you do, she wins. Not your heart, your soul, your self-worth, your time, your peace. So when this happens, don't respond with anger, don't argue, don't plead. Respond with absence, with detachment, with a complete withdrawal of attention. Because a woman can only play with you if you hand her the strings. And when you cut those strings, when you walk away, fully, silently, permanently, that's when she realizes she's not holding a toy anymore. She was holding a man who knows his worth, a man who doesn't perform for scraps, a man who doesn't stay where he's not chosen. That's when the real story begins, yours. Most men don't realize this, but the moment you accept half love, unclear intentions, or emotional manipulation, you're giving up your masculine core. You become reactive instead of assertive. You wait instead of lead. You hope instead of walk away. And that shift is subtle at first. You start excusing her behavior, rationalizing the mixed signals, telling yourself she's just confused or scared. But slowly, your entire sense of self starts to revolve around her moods, her messages, her moments of warmth that are sprinkled just enough to keep you hooked. That's the beginning of emotional servitude. You become addicted, not to her, but to the version of you that chases her. And the only way out is to stop, completely. Not with anger, but with awareness. Not with desperation, but with dignity. Because the man who reclaims his focus after rejection doesn't just move on, he evolves. There's a quiet kind of power in a man who no longer reacts to women's confusion with pursuit. He doesn't need to prove his worth. He doesn't need to perform emotional gymnastics to win her back. He understands that a woman who truly values him won't keep him guessing, so he doesn't wait. He doesn't chase. He doesn't write novels in his head about what her latest text might mean. He just decides. He looks at her actions, not her words. He looks at her presence, not her potential. And when he sees inconsistency, he walks, not to hurt her, but to honor himself. And that kind of man, he's rare. He's dangerous. Not because he's cruel, but because he's immune to manipulation. That's the kind of man women remember. The one who wouldn't let her games define his path. There's a reason why women are most obsessed with the men who didn't flinch when they tried to play games. It's not arrogance, it's clarity. It's not that he didn't care, it's that he cared enough about himself to not tolerate confusion. And that energy, that grounded, centered, emotionally unavailable to drama energy, it sticks with her. Long after the attention fades, long after the other guys she juggled disappear, long after she's alone with her thoughts, that's when it hits her. That's when she remembers the man who didn't fight to stay, but left with peace in his soul and fire in his vision. The man who didn't need her, but chose her. And when she threw that away, he chose himself again. That's what creates gravity. That's what separates you from every other guy she toyed with. You weren't just another option, you were the mirror that showed her what she lost. Let this be your standard. If a woman is unsure about you, you become sure about yourself. If she rejects you, but keeps dangling hope, you remove yourself from the equation. Because that's not love, it's control. And the second you accept control, disguised as affection, you start losing your edge. You start becoming the version of you who's easy to forget, soft, needy, reactive. But that's not who you are. You are the man who walks into a storm with calm, who doesn't chase noise because he is the signal, who doesn't fight for space in someone else's life because he's too busy building his own. So the next time she plays that game, rejecting you then reeling you in, smile. Not because you're playing to, but because you already won. You won by not needing her to validate you anymore. In the end, this isn't even about her. It never was. It's about your discipline, your focus, your ability to walk away from confusion and never look back. It's about being the man who chooses clarity over chaos, peace over passion, respect over romance. Because women come and go, but your sense of self, your vision, your grounded masculine energy, that has to remain intact. You don't need revenge. You don't need closure. You don't need her to regret it. All you need is to keep walking with your head high and your purpose in front of you. Because the man who stops chasing women who reject him, especially the ones who play hot and cold, is the man who starts attracting women who would never risk losing him. And that shift, that's when your real life begins.